Hello, hello. So back again, and we're going to be looking at how to build the Soviet divisions. Basically, going to have to start taking a general look at what the Soviets have. Now, if you didn't know, you do have a filter thing up here, and I have to admit, probably because I'm an idiot, I didn't notice this for a long time. So, I'm going to select the Soviet division. The Estonian division as well is only one, but that basically fits in right here. So that's what you have available as things stand in the game at the moment in 2023. Now, I'm going to be jumping around a little bit. I will put timestamps in, so don't worry too much about that. First thing I'm going to look at is the 84th, because this will give us a good overview of the kind of infantry units available to us. The general run-of-the-mill Soviet infantry. So let's start off with the Chernos. Disheartened, high availability though, cheap stuff, catching bullets, use them to spot things in the open. They will run, they will fall back quickly, so they will survive pretty well, but they won't dish out much damage. They won't be very good at fighting. So this is like your worst of the worst kind of Soviet unit. The next worst, I would say, is possibly, well, it's not worst, but it's very niche use. It's the Avtos. So these guys only have the submachine guns. The anti-tank grenade can come in handy every now and again to pick off a tank, but generally speaking they're not particularly that good. But not in this division. You can sometimes get them in a half track, which can help out a lot. Another thing to consider with these is, alone they will be generally terrible. If you mix these in with Chernos or something, like whilst the Chernos are taking the fire, you can run your Avtos in, get them into close quarters, and then they can dish out the damage, because they do deal some damage. But against another assault squad, one-on-one, they don't really hold up particularly well, because they don't have any flamers, they don't have any Molotovs, they don't have TNT, which is generally what the close quarter combat is all about. So always keep that kind of thing in mind. But yeah, combined with some flames and stuff, they will do some work. Now, next one up, we've got Gvardia. Now, there is another one which is equivalent in most of the Soviet divisions. You have the Gvardia and you have the Strelki. Strelki are pretty much identical, except for they have one less submachine gun and one more rifle. But strength 11 on these, they're run-of-the-mill, decent squad really, 20 points. There's nothing wrong with these, they're alright. But generally speaking, what you're going to really be wanting in the general backbone of your division is this boy. Because you've got double light machine guns. This is what you want. The Gvardia's only got one light machine gun, the Chernos have got none, they're just fodder. Obviously the Avtos have not even got rifles, let alone light machine guns. These guys, double light machine guns, so they'll be able to do a decent bit of work at range is what you want. They've also got an anti-tank rifle, strength 12 as well, so particularly good unit. The Strelki DP I think is exactly the same, it's just a different name. So these should really be, if you have these in your division, like we have in the 84th here, these should be the backbone. So you want one in A, one in B, maybe not even bother with Gvardia at all, but that's on you. You might want to bring Gvardia in, just because you get, you can get 9 of them, 20 points, so it's just, they're more like a more expensive kind of fodder unit, but it depends what you want to do really. There's no right or wrong way to build things exactly. Next up, I would say, maybe a little bit less powerful than the Gvardia, but certainly a bit more, Gvardia DP that is, certainly a bit more, what's the word, versatile. That's the one I'm looking for. So they dish out some decent stuff at range. They've got the SVT-40, which is a really nice semi-automatic rifle. And you will, the problem is you don't get high availability with these. They do have the TNT though, so really you want them in close quarter combat, and they will do some nice work. Again, they can wipe out a squad with one TNT, so really good. And like I was saying again, the SVTs do work. You've got a couple of submachine guns to help you along too. The light machine gun, in case you get caught out in the open a little bit, they can dish out a bit of damage. So they're a pretty solid unit, kind of essential, I would say, in most divisions. But I would actually put the Gavadia, I would rate them a little bit higher than the Superior, to be honest. They're more useful. They're your backbone. Now, next up, I'm going to go, whilst we're talking about the CQC, we've got your Avtos, you've got your Superior, and then we got these guys. Superior Rocks. These ones in particular are very powerful. 12-man squad, double light machine gun, semi-automatic. These are multi-purpose, really good units, good in close quarter combat, good at range. So these are like a step up from the Superior, extremely good. There's also well, what they called? There's the other rocks where they've got double flamethrowers, which are obviously really powerful in close quarter combat. So, but a single flamer in here, very nice. And now the creme de la creme when it comes to fighting in the open, we've got the Strafniki. 3 light machine guns, 13 rifles, 3 submachine guns, and you've got an anti-tank rifle too. Strength 20, very good, very durable squad. This, like when you're boxing against some of like the German units and they've got their MG42s and MG34s, which will suppress you, you can just fall these back, but then you can come back into the fight again, and they'll still be pretty bulky. Maybe lost a few men, but they can really hold up in fights. So, generally speaking, this, as you see here, is the backbone of all of the Soviet divisions. There's 1 or 2 where it's a little bit different. There's variations, obviously, but really, Chernos for fodder, Gavadia or the Strelki, which is sort of your mainline troops for 20 points, fairly cheap. Then you've got Gavadia DP or the Strelki DP, which you really want to keep as your main backbone of the squad. Your elite sort of rifle units for fighting in the open, your Strafniki. Then for your CQC, you want to be using your Superior. And usually there's the rocks, I forgot what they're called. Is it Sturmoviki rocks with the double flamethrowers? If you got them, then they're really nice, really powerful. Take them for sure. These are good enough as well, do some jobs. Avtos, again, really niche. It depends what you're doing. You need to have them in combination. If you had a squad of these with the Superior Rocks, both together, they would mop up. They do really well. Now, another thing to keep in mind with the Soviet divisions is the leaders. You can see all of these here. If you just check out their tab at the bottom, they've got the leader trait here, but they don't have any radios. And most of, not all, but most of the Soviet divisions do not have radios. So keep that in mind when you're building and for your artillery. Alright, so now I'm going to jump and look at something else. So we're going to go to the armory and give you another basic overview of what the Soviets have to offer. And we're going to, so I've covered the infantry. I'll just jump in and just show you one more thing. Where's the assault? Is it assault squad it will be? Oh, there's the Tankos as well. Oh, I nearly forgot them. Of course, the Tankos, these are much better than having Avtos. They look exactly the same, but they've got the Molotovs, which you get them thrown off early, and it can force your opponents to move around, and then you can get your submachine guns going. Because when units are moving, they have less defense bonus. So keep that in mind. The one I was looking for is not that. It's the Flamer people. Where are you? Tankos. Yeah, Sturmoviki. Yeah, it was a Sturmoviki rock. So these as well. They're in a good number of units. Very powerful. When you get double flamethrowers in any division, you want to take them, to be honest. Anyways, now let's just jump into the tanks, because that's probably what people like more than anything. Big old tankies. I'm not going to cover these particularly. The BT-7 I'll go over a bit later on, possibly. The Churchill 4, I'll give a quick mention. Like for the Soviets, you get HE with it, whereas for the Commonwealth, you don't. So that's a nice little bonus. MCHs are available, but this is more of an American unit. So just sticking to the Ruski units. So the main thing we have, let me just filter this, it's going to make more sense. T-34s. So T-34s are generally the backbone of the Soviet armor. You've got the T-34 43, cheap medium tank, does some business. You probably want this in A, or maybe B. I personally like to go for this one in A, the 42 version, because it's got better frontal armor, so it can just sort of last a bit longer. Whereas the 43 in the B phase with some of your heavier tanks, it's probably not going to get shot at first. The heavy tanks will be taking the fire, so this can then deal out a bit more work, and you can sort of spam them a bit more too. A step up from these, you then have the T-34-85, you've got the 43 version and the 44. The main difference being, on the 44, you've got 2k range, whereas on the 34, you only have 1,750 meter range, and on the APCR, you got 1,500 meter range. The AP, you can see here, is identical in terms of penetration. It's 145. It is the APCR which has better pen, so this will be better for taking out some like much heavier tanks, but you need to get pretty close up to do the job with these. But they're handy for that. And I believe, let me just check, I believe this is identical. Yeah, so we got this version. Oh, it's a little bit slower, that's all. Oh, this is nice. Yeah, a little bit slower, not as much side armor. This is a T-34E, which we find in just a couple of divisions here. So another little handy tank. And now the heavy tank. Oh, there's no T-34. We've got the IS-2s, of course. IS-243, which has 160 frontal armor, whereas the 44 has an extra 20 armor. So these are your main heavy tanks. If you've got a choice between these two, take the 44, generally speaking. You've also got the KVs, which are basically, it's a T-34-85 hull, so it's got the armor on it, it's much better armor, but the gun is the same as the T-34-76, the light and medium tanks. So they're not going to dish out too much damage, 100mm pen, but it's not too bad. Then the KV-85 is basically the same as the T-34-85, but it's just got better frontal armor, 125, as you can see. Again, the Tiger is a German tank, so I'll cover that when we get to the Axis divisions. Now let's jump into something else, the air, and let's take a quick look at fighters. So again, a lot of these are not sort of really Soviet planes. The main Soviet fighters we're going to be talking about here is going to be the Yak. So these are probably the most common across the board for the Soviets. See, lots of different variants. It's the Yak 1B is a bit slow, does a little bit damage, not particularly good. The Yak 3, yeah, a fair bit more damage, and it's a lot faster. So these do a lot better. And the 7B, same kind of thing going on again. This guy just deals out a bit more damage. The Yak 1B, if you've got no other options, then basically, yeah, take it if you need a fighter. Anything else above that would be a preference, to be honest. And you've got the Yak 9T here, which is dishing out probably the most damage of all of them, I believe. Yep, it is. And other options you have for fighters, I think it's particularly overpriced, is the Cobra. Got two different Cobras here. And I got the 125.1 does a hell of a lot of damage, so that would be the one you want to be taking. But they are all these fighters though are bad resilience that I'm covering here, the Yak and the Cobra. So it's a bit annoying. It's a bit annoying in that sense. You've got these other P40s here, but they're they're all right. Anyway, let's move on. So the what makes, when people think about the air tab for the Soviets, yeah, the IL-2 is going to come to mind. These things are all over the Soviet divisions. Pretty slow, but they've got very good resilience, so they can take a lot of fire. They've got decent bombs. They've got some nice anti-tank guns on plenty of these things as well. The Recon plane of this version is particularly good as well. Can do some nice work. It's very survivable. As we go further down, we've got the IL-4 as well. These bombers, again, particularly slow, but very good resilience. Once you get them in there to do some bombing runs, they can do some serious damage. Got some great loads on these things. Other options in terms of the bombers for the Soviets, we have the P-2. These have got good availability as well on most of them, so yeah, particularly good. The rocket planes, yeah, a whole variety of different things there. Then you've got the Tu-2 as well, which is very good resilience, very fast, well, relatively fast bomber, I would say. Does some nice work. As you can see, 450 kilometers an hour with 900 kilo bombs. Yeah, particularly nice. Different variants here as well. Obviously, the 1,000 kilo bomb is a bit heavier. So you've got a good variety and mix of bombers, yeah, scattered throughout different divisions. So that's what you're going to be looking at. So now anti-air. very, very, very quickly. So 25 mil. This is like the lightest one you want to be taking that does the work, so it's pretty nice. If you have to take this, then maybe it does some suppression, but generally, no, 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 no. This is like last resort going for this. 37 mils. These are generally your mainstay. One of these in A, one of these in B, and you're set up pretty nice. This thing's got a bit of AP on it. It's not got the best range on it though, but you know, can help defend a little bit, defend itself from some tanks. But generally, it's there for suppressing, not killing, whereas the 37 is for killing. And in terms of the mobile anti-air, this thing, big pile of poo-poo. You want not the ZSU M17. It has terrible range on it, as you can see. The 15, much better range, but you need to keep this thing kind of resupplied. The amount of bullets it has is a bit annoying, to be honest, but it is what it is. So that's generally your AA tab. There is one particular thing I want to mention here. This thing is a beast. These things are really, really good, but they're only available in 2 divisions, which are quite unique divisions, so you don't see them around so much. Artillery. Generally speaking, rockets, if you fancy rockets, you've got these things. They can suppress, generally not going to kill. You probably need 2 of them to do any reasonable damage on anything. And you've got the Andruska. This will kill everything. So it's a pretty big boom arty piece. But your mainstay is going to be this kind of thing. This has got a bit of a big boom on it. Yeah, 6.1, 4 rounds per minute, 35% accuracy. Not particularly good though. No, it's not the mainstay. What am I talking about? The where's it gone? Where's it gone? It's basically the equivalent of the ZIS free gun in the artillery tab. If I can find a beast. Is this it? Surely that's not it, is it? Ah, here we go. Here we go. Yeah, the F22. So this thing's basically ZIS 3 gun, the anti-tank gun, but you just get more HE shells on it. So it's an important thing to keep in mind. So if you think, oh my god, I'm lacking on AT guns, what can I do? Then just look in your artillery tab and you can use one of these instead. But they do cost more because of the HE shells. So, but as a desperation call, then go for that. When it comes to the mortars, you got these guys. They tend not to have radios on them, which can be a bit problematic. But as you can see, they're in every division. These are always quite handy. And what is particularly good about the Soviet divisions is you get the 120mm mortar. The availability on these is really good. You get 3 in A and 6 in B, whereas these are scattered amongst some of the Soviet divisions. I mean, some of the Axis divisions across all the different factions. You see 1 or 2 of these, but you only get availability 2 in A and 4 in B. So better availability on these things. And these, if you get 2 of these together, they can kill AA, but they are quite soft and squishy, so keep that in mind. Other than that, you get a good, decent range of off maps in the Soviet divisions, and they're generally quite good, and it makes up for your lack of the medium range fighting, because you do have the DP light machine gun in your infantry, as I was just showing you, which doesn't really match up to a lot of the Axis stuff with the MG 34s and 42s. So yeah, suppressing with some off maps and a bit of artillery, some mortars, and then pushing in is a helpful tactic to use. Anti-tank in this tab, the general gist of it is this is where you want to be starting off. The M42, and highly available. It's in almost every Soviet division, I would say. Take a card of these in A, they've got good availability, they do some work, they'll pick off light armor, they kill some medium armor as well. The APC has 100mm pen, and the regular ones are 75. Well, very, very good AT gun. And step up from that, there's this 3 that I was just talking about. Again, these are 45 points, whereas the artillery ones are usually 60 if 65 if they've got a radio, or 60 if they haven't. But these you can use as artillery as well. They've got 13 shells, so vice versa, you can switch one around for the other if you wish, if you're lacking in one tab or another, and you have the space, then bring these out. Next up is the ZIS 2, which looks like it's amazing, but it's not quite as good as you think. 120mm penetration, 1750 range, which is nice. You get the range on this thing. The APCR though is only 1000 meter range, so it's a bit of a pain there. So they are your general go-to AT guns. Other things you get a lot of in the Soviet divisions is the anti-tank rifle squads, which can rush in, unload things, be annoying with them, get into the back line. Yeah, they can be seriously annoying. You don't get many Panzerschrecks though. Yeah, it's like 1, 2, only in 6 divisions do you get these things. If you do get them, it's generally worth taking them. The only other option for these kind of bazookas or Panzerschrecks is in your Recon tab, and you get the, where are they gone? Razvetska. I can't pronounce that properly, can I? Yeah, 8 strength, really strong squad. As you can see, you get they're in plenty of divisions. So take one or the other or both. And we'll have a quick look at what we've got on offer in the Recon tab here as well. Generally speaking, BA-10, if you got this, take it. They're really good. 25 points, and they generally take out more points than they're worth in nearly every game that I play. Again, these are very common in divisions, as you can see. Other things, obviously the dozer, the general two-man recon squads. Sometimes you can find some nice little vehicles on these with some armor, so you can get like 2 recon for the price of 1, so keep that in mind. But these will spot out for days. I'd usually upvet them by 1 at least. But often you don't need to take these because you have got lots of snipers. So you can use snipers as recon, you can turn their guns off, use them as recon for a bit, or put them on return fire only. And they will survive. They can hide very effectively. Another little unit got here, the SU-57, a nice little vehicle for sniping things. Not available in many units, but worth a quick mention. And also, this recently got buffed, the T-3485 Razvetka. So these have better availability now. So a nice little sneaky tank to bring in and pop in and out of cover, picking things off in a fairly safe position. And T-70s as well, these are scattered amongst different divisions, mostly in the Recon tab. These are worth taking as well. The APCR 100mm pen, which can be really sneaky. Even though it does 3 damage, you can pick off tanks, like medium tanks, really well with this thing sometimes, just by getting sneaky side shots in, because the Recon gives you the ability to see first and fire first, so it is helpful. The AP's not too much to laugh about either. It's 75mm pen, which isn't too bad. So yeah, these can kill way above their weight, just like the BA-10 can as well. So those are things to keep in mind. And last tab to look at here is going to be the support tab. Infantry support gun. So an issue with, you will find quite often with the Soviet divisions, is you're going to be relying mostly on, where are the little babies gone? The Maxims, these things. And they've only got 1,000 meter range, and lots of especially in the German divisions, their machine guns will outrange this, so this will just be sat there getting fired at and it will die. So then these kind of things will come in handy, because these will outrange the German machine guns and you'll be able to pick them off with the assault guns. But if you have the option to take this or the OB-25, take the OB-25 really. It's just generally much better. It will do, it's got the heat round on it, it can act as a light anti-tank weapon as well. You can actually pick off mediums with this, with 90mm pen on the heat. Not particularly accurate, but its rate of fire is good enough to do the job more often than not. So those are things you want to keep in mind basically. And now I will take a quick pause and go on to look at divisions in a little bit more detail. Okay, and we're back here with the 84th again, and I just want to mention I'm going to be building the decks in sort of Maverick, because that is what I'm used to playing most of the time. With balance, I would generally say always have like two C cards in your infantry, but let me just give you a much better view of how to build a deck. So what I'm going to be doing is going through the tabs from top to bottom. I'm just filling in the 1 slots and one of the number 2 slots. So looking here, we've got snipers. Snipers are nice, and like I was saying, these can act as recon for dozer, so why would I want to take the dozer? Don't really need them just yet. So I'll probably take one of these. Let's just check out the vehicles. There's no armored vehicles in here, so that's not really going to be worth it. And I take a card in B as well, so that will keep me covered for the recon, no problem. I've also got a 2 slot here, so I've used the 1 and a 1, and for now, I'm probably just going to leave that, to be honest. I'm not going to need it. But back. Infantry. So we've got a good number of slots available to us here. So I might be thinking I want to have some fodder in A. Gavadi DP, these are really good. So we want upvet, one of those cards in A. Or maybe put two in A, one at one vet, and then 12 in B. Generally speaking, I'm wanting to look to have around 20 infantry units in A to cover me in A phase. So this might be a bit much, so I might come back and look at this again in a second. But I say just generally fill out what you think you're going to be doing. What else I'm going to need in here? Like Strafniki, definitely going to want those in B. They're going to be vicious. And I've got one more slot. Superi, probably need some Superi rocks for close range fighting and stuff in A phase. That'd be pretty nice, won't it? So yeah, I'll do that and chuck those in. So right, next tab. You don't need to waste too much time. Ooh, IS2s. So I want some of these to do some work. I need some kind of light tank. So let me chuck that in A. And then I'm going to want, I can take 2 of these in B at 1 star, or I could take 1 of those in B at 1 star. So obviously I'm going to go for 2 and do that. So that's filled up the 1-2 slot there. So we've got 4 slots available here. Flamers. Yes, flamers please. Take flamers. Machine guns. So we've got the SG-43 here, which is better. It's got 1,250 meter range. So, oh yes please sir, I want that. Put it in the fastest transport I can. There we go. OB-25. They're very good. They can act, like I said before, they can support the infantry and they can pick off some medium armor as well. And I'm probably going to want to put a supply in, so let's get that in now. And while I'm here, I'm going to go over by 1 because I'm going to be wanting to have a combat, I think. So let's just do that. Now, anti-tank, I've got 4 slots here. What do I want anti-tank? I've got no Razvetska in my recon. So let's just double check on that. Have I got Razvetska? I've got these ones, but none of them have the bazookas. So yeah, bazookas are always going to come in handy. So let's chuck some of those in A. M42, great gun to have in A. Fast transport as well, can get to the front line. There's this 3, they don't come in fast transports, but in A maybe want something with a bit more punch power. So I chuck one of those in as well. And then as this 2 in B for a bit more hard hitting power. And there we go, that's that one done. Anti-air, got 4 slots available here. Might not need to use all of these, to be honest. Well, 37 mil. I'll put these at 1 vet in A. Maybe back them up with some of these. A couple of these in A. And then more this. I'll put them at 1 star as well. And then these are not so useful, but you know, I can come back and change this in a moment. I don't really want to use the 2 slot here. I think that will keep me covered throughout the game pretty much. Artillery, 4 slots available here. So let's go general mortar. You get 3 of these, so this I might use to pick off the AA, so I'll just chuck that in for now. Can change it later. Other things we've got in here, we've got some off-map, we've got some bigger artillery here, and we've got some resist artillery. So I think I'm probably going to make more use of the leaders, but we can maybe change this later. But let's chuck a leader in for now, and one more. Maybe go for the SU-76, so we can do some supporting fire. Rate of fire 11 rounds per minute on the HEs. Pretty decent. Does some decent damage. Maybe put those in B. So I've got the radio on this and I've got the radio on this, so they can help each other. That combo works nice. And then let's go to the air. And we've only got the Yak 1B here, which is not particularly great as a fighter. I've got the 2-2 for recon, that's pretty nice, I'll have that. Do I want to take the fighter? I've got the Yak 1B fighter bomber, so I think I'll use that. And if I really need a fighter, I'll bring it in. Then we've got some other options here, an anti-tank plane and an anti-tank plane with some bombs on it. I think I'll take the one with bombs on it, and I might put those, maybe put those in B. Get a few of them. And in A phase, can I get some of these? Or only one? And only one here. So this one's got a bigger bomb load. This one's a bit cheaper. So I think I'll go for the cheaper option in A. And has that got me covered? Yeah, that's got me covered then. So It's got me covered. Then I've used up my 1, 1, 1 and 2 slots. So now, generally when you do this, you're going to use up about 35 activation points in most divisions. I mean, I've added in on an extra one somewhere else. So this gives you, this is your basic backbone. Now, from here you decide, what am I going to do? I've got my medium tank here, I've got my heavy tank here. So have I got any other medium tanks available anywhere else? So we can look in the support tab, we generally find some armor in here. And there we go, we find this. So maybe I get 3 of these in A and 6 of them in B. The gun on this is not particularly good. Excuse me. But it's got decent armor, so maybe I want to bang that into A instead. And what I will do is shift this T-34 into B phase so it can help support and get around the IS-2s and do some work. Then I've got the IS-2 1944 in here. I do want those, they're beautiful. Maybe bring those out in B as well with this. And try and get a decent amount of tanks out in B, my big heavy tanks. In which case then, do I need this in B? If I'm buying in like 4 IS-2s, then it's a bit much, isn't it? So maybe what I will do instead is I will rethink this and bring this into A phase, like so. So then this makes more sense. And will I need 12 if I'm buying out all of these as well? Probably not. So maybe I'll put them at double vet and make them a bit more potent. So I've got 50% accuracy now when they're firing, 8 rounds per minute. So yeah, I think I'm going to go for that. So in A phase I've got these tanks to get some fire, the KV-8S and the IS-2 Comrotti to lay down some fire. It's got the 2k range on it. Pop some anti-air next to this. Pop one of these next to it. It'd be a 2-star, so it'd be quite potent. And this one will help repel any air coming in to try and take out my IS-2 in the early game. So that works out well. I've only got 8 points left now, and I've not really dealt with my infantry tab, so I should really have gone to this first. So let's have a look here. So I want to have about 65 to 75, somewhere in that ballpark for my infantry. I've got no leaders in here yet, so let's deal with that. So using Gavardia DP, I've got no anti-tank capabilities here, so maybe I want to go for this guy in A. You get 4 of them as well. It's got a Panzerfaust, which is something, so chuck that in. I've also got the Panzerschrecks there as well. And now I've got 2 Gavardia DP in A. It's like solid units here. Superi Rocks as well, another solid unit with a double DPs. So that's like, what's that, 17 infantry. Do I really need the Chernos? These are 25, 25 and 30 points. So I'm going more for elite infantry here, so maybe I don't want to do this. And I generally would insist on having a Superi, so I would chuck that into A as well. So now let's have a look what we've got. We've got 47 units. We're covered in A. We've got some decent firepower in B. Our tanks will be dealing with tanks. You know, our IS-2s will be dealing with tanks in B phase along with our anti-tank guns. And I probably just want to flesh out with a Gavardia in C phase. That brings me up to 74. That looks pretty good to me. I've got 3 more points left over. So let's have a look in the... Could I spend it here? So I've got machine guns, some tanks. We've got that ISU 152. Now this will come in pretty handy, I would say. And at 1 star in B to support my IS-2s, I'm probably going to go for that. That'll be very nice. These things are really good. Other options I could go for the SU-76. And these are worth taking because it's got the radio. And it will help support some of your artillery. But I don't have much artillery here. So do I want to rethink what's going on in this area? Do I need the 120mm? I've got a decent amount of air. I've not got many fighters and things. So yeah, this will probably help deal with some AA. So yeah, that would be a good idea. I just leave that as is. So that is basically how I would build a Soviet division. Now, let's go and look at some other ones. So let's get the filter on again. Soviet and Estonian. Let's look at something a bit different. What is a particularly different division? So Tyurina. So let's look at these. So straight away when we're looking at the whole deck here, it's like, oh my god, the anti-air looks pretty bad. So you really want to jump in here first and think, what do we need to do? Oh, we've not got much options here. We've got 25mm, so I'm definitely going to have to want to take them on A. Then if I've got those in A, then I'm probably going to want to put these in B. And do I want to upvet any of this? So now I've got a problem with my AA. I'm going to go straight to my Air tab and see what can I do to help myself out here. What fighters have I got? I've got the Yak 9. 90 points in A, get 3 of them. So that can help cover the air as well. It's not that powerful. I've got the Yak 9T, which does a bit more firepower. It's a tiny bit slower. It's also got the close air support on it. So I will probably opt for this instead and take one of these in A. Then I'm thinking, am I going to be under threat in B phase as well? Then I think I might be, so I might want to take some more in. Maybe just upvet them a little bit to help myself out. But there's a lot of fighters going on here. IL-2, nice recon plane. This can help pick off unsuspecting planes as well if they come in, so that'd be a nice idea. And then what else we got here? We've got the P3, 4 rockets. Not keen on these rockets, there's only 4 of them. But they're pretty big boom ones, so they might be decent, might be worth thinking about. And the anti-tank rockets, again, same kind of situation. I'm not too sure about this. These things are useless. Alright, anyway, so let's go back, and I'll generally now look at my infantry. What's going on here? What can I do with my infantry? Strelki, DP. Okay, let's have some of these in. So look at the cost of the slots. Well, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2. So it's not as good as the last division we were looking at, but I can get 5 in up to here, up to this point. Oh, you can't see where I'm pointing. Up to the first number 2 slot. But anyway, let's look at here. We've got Timecodes. Timecodes are nice. Put them at 1 vet. Bring them in with the half tracks. Really nice unit there. Strelki SVT. I forgot to mention these before. These have got the SVTs in, obviously. And so it's a Strelki, but it's better. Or the Gavadia, so it's better. So these are going to be really nice. I might go for these in B phase and rely more on Strelki DP in A, upvetted, to dish out some damage and help out, like so. A Saperi, as generally standard, I will put in A as well. And what else going to want? Maybe Sturmoviki Rocks. Now these are the double flamers. Do I want them in A or do I want them in B? Again, CQC is generally going to be better and do me more good in the A phase, I would say. So I'd chuck them into A. I've not got any Strafniki in this division, no. But more Strelki DP, put those into B as well to boost things up. So very well covered for infantry here. In A phase, how many units have I got in here now? 10, 21. I'm probably going to want to throw in. We've got no AT capability in as well. Probably throw in this old guy again. There we go. And let's just leave it like that for now. Generally speaking, I don't want to be using 4-point slots, and especially not 5-point slots. They're usually not worth it. Some divisions you have to, if you're like really lacking. Like here, if this was like 3, 4, 5, then I would have to spend it on a 4 slot here. If I had better A available, I might even go for the 5-point, but highly, highly unlikely, to be honest. Now, so if I've got these fighters out, I'm going to have an issue, because these are light resilience fighters. So I might going to want to deal with my enemy's AA. So to do that, I'm going to need some of these mortars, I would say, and maybe some heavier artillery if I've got them. And these things, maybe I'd go for that, or possibly these would be better because they've got a higher rate of fire. They've got a radio for accuracy. They're cheap and cheerful. So I'd probably do this, to be honest. Probably upvet them as well. Only lose 1. So yeah, I'll probably do that. Then I want to bring this guy in B to get the radios to help out. Got a nice cheap and cheerful off map. You get 2 in A for 40 points as well. It's what is it? It's 76 millimeter shell, so it's not going to kill anything, just suppress. So this could be helpful for pushing through my elite infantry. Suppressor units run in, get some business off. And I would like to have these as well, but I can switch it out later if I need to. Maybe it's a bit too much going on in there. Now I want to take a look at my tanks. We've already got medium tanks going on here. Like I was saying before, I would prefer to take these in A, because they're a bit more lastable. But luckily in this division you get 2 cards. But there's no sort of heavy tanks here, so I'm relying solely on medium armor, and not particularly good medium armor. So I'll probably put one of these in A as well, and the same in B. Maybe double vet these ones up in B. Possibly chuck one of these in, maybe in B phase, just to get a support network going. And in which case I want to start looking at my combat. So I want to get the veterancy going on my units. We've got nice machine guns in there, so I want to take advantage of this, I'd say. So yeah, got decent range on these things. So it's a question, do I want to take 6? I'm probably only going to use 4. And maybe I can bring more in B and double vet them for some extra oomph if I need it. Flamers, yes, always take flamers. And supplies, I want supplies. So I've got my, and you're going to need them for my artillery, and let's kind of leave it there for now. We've got a different option here. The AP on this is terrible. It's basically an assault gun for support with some armor on it. It's not got the best range. Can be a really good infantry support unit, this, but I'm going to leave it for now, because we've got enough sort of light, fairly cheap medium armor in here. I might decide to switch out this for the, it's basically a Steward. It's a little bit cheaper, so I could sort of spam those in A bit, and it can help support my infantry. So it is an option. It's a little bit faster too, so yeah, I think I'll do that instead of having the 43. But now my issue is dealing with like heavier tanks, because these, they only got 100mm pen. They've not got much range on them, so now I need to think about that. And my anti-tank tab, look at it, it's delicious. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. So I've got plenty of slots here. And talking about anti-tanks, do we have a Panzerfaust? We don't. So let's have a look in the Recon. Do we have Razvetska? We don't. But we've got the beautiful BA-10 I was talking about before. Bang those in. Now, usually I would double vet these. But considering that we're kind of short on the armor, I'd probably just put this at 1 vet in this instance, like so. Standard sniper, and probably chuck a sniper in B, like, and then just leave that. Now I've only got 6 slots left, and these are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I can fill in all 6 of these here. So what we've got available, beautiful. M42, yes please sir. Zis 3 in A, that can give me a bit more long range power, yes please. Zis 2 in B for a bit more heavier killing. Yeah, maybe I want one of those in A as well, to be honest. So that would help out. Then I've got these SU-85s. Now these anti-tank piece of armor. So these got 145mm of pen. So these are going to be very handy. These are going to be my main sort of killing tanks, so to speak. So maybe I want one of these in A, and they've got good veterancy curve on them as well. Or I could go for 2 in A at double start, just to do the work a bit better. But they are very vulnerable, so I might be a bit risky, but I'll use these in combo with some Zis 2s as well. Should do the trick. Then in B, do I want to have 6? I might just go for numbers then and hope to get some veterancy up. So I can pop these SU-85s next to some of these guys, give them more veterancy. Also get my commander involved in that situation. Get a nice like command network going, and that's basically what I'll be looking like. And this is Maverick again, of course. But I've only got 49 infantry here, and before I was saying 65 to 75. But the issue is here, I've got all these at 1 vet. Nearly everything's at 1 vet. I've got a double vet here. I've got enough commanders, well, enough leaders in to boost things up as well. So it's not too bad really. A little bit light in A phase in terms of the longer range equipment, but I've got BA-10s in here to help out. I'm throwing some snipers to help out too. I've got some machine guns in here. I've got more machine guns coming in B. I've got some light armor to help support my infantry if need be. Decent AT capability to take out anything which blaps these lighter vehicles. So it's looking okay. The only issue, I'm particularly short in the air department. So yeah, it's going to be a bit tricky here. Again, with this, I might possibly do this. Go for 4, but I would feel a bit vulnerable in the air. If I get air spammed, I'd rather have 6. And just vet them up with my leaders and such. I'd usually keep like one of these leaders back and keep it in somewhere to throw out there, put next to some AA. And if I was feeling particularly vulnerable here, I might think, oh, I just want... I don't really want to do this. I want to have some more punch power in A, so maybe I would maybe chuck this down like so. So I just feel like I need more units there. Then in B phase I might think, actually the Strelki SVT, do I need those? These are cheaper, so maybe I want to put them in C and have them at 1 vet there. Then I get 6 more and do this. I rely on my tanks and stuff to deal with any tank problems. So then I'm up to 58, so it's a bit better. I could even just downgrade these even further and just go for pure numbers, because they are handy as they are, 67. Other options for AT, I might opt out of the Yak Ts in B and throw in these anti-tank planes instead. Again, I don't think they're particularly efficient myself, but they might come in handy. They've got very good resilience, they're fast enough. As long as I deal with the enemy's AA, these could get in and do some work. And if I stick to what I was saying before, my plan of obliterating the enemy's AA with these 120mm mortars and some F-22 spam as well, then it could work out in my favour. Now, in dealing with like the heavier tanks, if coming up against something which is a super heavy tank like an IS-2 or a KT, then the APCR have to get really close for this to be efficient, and even then it's going to struggle to pen. And this is not going to pen at 120mm. So another option, if you look around, if you look in your AA tab, sometimes you've got AT capabilities here. In this case, no. But there's something to keep in mind for the Soviets, I forgot to mention, is the M30. Yes, it's an artillery piece, but look, it has heat on it. Doesn't have the best range on it. The accuracy is not too bad. It's a 160mm pen heat, which means it doesn't drop off over range. And if this hits, it will kill. Well, it hits and it pens, it kills. And the rate of fire is not terrible on it. So what I sometimes do in some divisions is I put these in B and I put them at 1 star just to make them a bit more accurate, so they're more likely to hit when they are in range. And they can kill like the more heavy tanks, especially with the side shots. So there's something to keep in mind. Now, hopefully that's going to cover generally what we're looking at in terms of building the Soviet decks. Now I want to touch on something in a little bit more detail and where to look for what kind of divisions. Now, there's a unit I haven't mentioned yet, which is in the anti-tank tab, and the divisions you will find this unit in are in 358 Strelkovi, 184th Strelkovi, and in 7th Mech. Yeah, 7th Mech here. And this unit, well, they've got both of them in the 358th, so let's have a look at this one, the anti-tank. And you got these things. Got extremely slow rate of fire on these, but the AP, 12 damage. Again, you hit, you pen, you kill. That's basically what we're talking about here. You get 2 in A, 4 in B. You've also got the option for this guy. It's 10 points more, and the only significant difference is the rate of fire is better. Other than that, it kind of works out about the same. Because you buy these at no veterancy, like so. Then if you put them up, so in A, so if you get these in B, and you put them up to 1 vet, you just get 1. Whereas if you buy this in B, you get 2. And then if you double vet it, then you get a better option there, I would say. So you get 2 with the rate of fire at 4, whereas this one, you get 1 rate of fire at 4, less accuracy. So it's generally better to go for these ones, I would say, if you're looking for veterancy on them. But, you know, it's up to you. There's no exact right way to play the game. Now, we can build divisions as well in many different, many different ways, to say the least. So you can focus on your air, you can focus on your artillery, you can focus on your tank killing capabilities, or infantry. If you're going full on infantry, then your support tab is going to be your friend. Bringing these in to help out, machine guns to help out. And I forgot to mention these as well. Very cheap mortars. They've got 800-meter range. These are particularly good, but they take a lot of micromanagement. They don't do a lot of damage. If you've got 2 of them and you can pinpoint and get it right on top of an infantry unit, you will kill it. You will delete it. It's good for that. But more often than not, they just help you suppress, lay down some suppressive fire, then move your infantry into the forest and such and kill them off. So they can be very handy for that. The rate of fire is fantastic. The number of the ammo is, yeah, very, very high as well. So they're very useful. These things, never take them. Waste of time. That's all there is to say about those. Now, let's look at something. Let's look at some of the more unique divisions as well. So I was just talking about that. That's the unique weapon you have in the 7th Mech as well. Let me just show you. You do get you get 2 cards of the ISU 122S, and in the division that I particularly like to play, 184th, you get, where are you? Yeah, you get 2 cards of the ISU 122. So that's what all that's about. Now, coming back here again, let's take a look-see. Now, other divisions which are kind of a little bit similar, yet quite different from the rest, are there's 3rd Mech, and there is 9th Cav, and there is what's the other one? Is that it? 3rd Mech, 9th Cav. Yes, it's these 2. Yes, so 3rd Mech. See, these are quite similar because they use the Shermans, or the Emchers. See, in the tanks, you got Emcher, and they've got these Valentines. Valentines are really good, but really slow. I would always recommend double vetting these, because you're not likely to have call in that many, because they take so long to arrive. By the time, yeah, if you put these in B phase like this, it's probably not going to be worth it, because they're not going to arrive till C phase when you call them in. They are particularly slow, but they are brutal. They don't have the best range on them, but many a time I've had these come up against a Stug, and they will take down the Stug. More often than not, in my opinion, because simply the rate of fire. They just, if they get the first shot off against the Stug, they're generally going to win out. The Stug's going to get penned, because it's got decent accuracy when you put them at double vet. It's going to be stressed out. It's probably going to miss, or it might get a bounce on the Valentine, and then the Valentine gets its 2nd shot in, and that's usually enough to finish off the Stug. It just gets a much faster rate of fire. And what's unique about these divisions is in the Infantry Tab we've got some different things going on. We've got the Partisani DP, which are pretty terrible. 6 strength, 15 points. They've got Raiders, so what? They've got SVTs, which are nice, but they don't really do much. They die very quickly. They're just a fodder unit. But yeah, I'd rather have Chernos than these, to be honest. The availability is high on them, but yeah, so what? These things though, I do like. In the forest, again, they got strength 12. They got the Raiders, so they get to spot their opposition more quickly with their stealth, and they get the Molotov off quickly, so you can then dish out some damage. But unfortunately, you don't have submachine guns, so you kind of need them to be in combination with. This is where the Avtos will come in handy. A squad of Avtos and a squad of these in a forest, that'd be quite nice. That'd be quite nice. But you've got the Timecodes, which will do the same job but a bit better, just that these are more survivable out in the open. But it's a kind of a weird division in that sense. But you do have the Gvardia DPs as well. You get 3 cards of these to help yourself out. And like I say, these are generally the backbone of the decent Soviet divisions. And another thing to mention, one of the leaders here has a sniper rifle. So look out for these, the Tanko Komroti. Pretty nice. An extra sniper never hurts. And looking at the other division, the 9th Cav, same kind of nonsense going on here in a way. The Infantry Tab, oh sorry, yeah, tanks, yeah, Emchers, Valentines, but you do get a T-34 card in here as well. But yeah, it's more Shermans. Infantry, you got, look at this, it's kind of not one thing or the other. 9 strength, 20 points, good availability though. You got an anti-tank rifle, you got one light machine gun, but you got no rifles to talk of. You're at a 500-meter range, or you're not really dishing out much damage. In CQC, you're doing a bit more, but then you don't have the rest of the equipment to help you out. You need to be backed up by other things. And these things, cheap and cheerful, 12 of them. Again, it's the same kind of issue. So these are more like you spam out a lot of them, do some work. You need to mix them in with other things, but you've only got like one card of superior, so there's nothing else to mix it in with, to be honest. It's a real pain of a unit. But you do have these for CQC as well. The Kazaki, which is basically just like an AVTO squad, but not quite as good, because you've got less strength. But you've got the Raider on there, which is something, I guess. And the only unit in here which is particularly good is this thing. But you only get one card. I wish you got two cards. It would make this division a lot better. So you get good availability on them, as you can see. But just one card is annoying, because you want these in A and you want them in B as well, because you don't have anything else with any strength, which is really frustrating. You get these funny things with bazookas as well. But these will show the front line to your opponent. So, but you kind of need them to take out some tanks. But the benefit, say the discrepancy, like with the 3rd Mech and with the 9th Cav, you can support your infantry with one of the best support tanks in the game, which is the Emcher, the Sherman here. These are great for supporting infantry, but they are a bit pricey for that alone. So, yeah, keep that in mind. This will help you out dealing with the enemy's machine guns and such, picking off the infantry. But then, if you're doing that, you're making yourself vulnerable to AT weaponry. So it is an issue. But where you have the weaknesses there, you can then go to the air tab, and here you've got more of your strengths. You've got your 2-2 bombers, got LA-7 bombers, so these can come in and do a bit of work. They're medium resilience as well, medium resilience, which is pretty good, very good. And these are fast, the 2-2s, so you want to be making good use of these in the early game. So you need to look at the strengths of each division and see what's going on here. So for this particular division, it gives you a clue here. The air tab's so high here, but the slots are fairly expensive. They go up quite steeply. But you want to be playing the air game here. Your anti-air, you've got this beautiful thing I was on about before, very powerful. You've got enough there to keep you going in the AA tab. Then it's a case of you need your artillery to kill the enemy's AA, so you can lay down your work. So you've got card of these. You probably want to bang these in A to get early snipes possibly, then build up a bigger force of more big boom artillery in B. Maybe even this is an instance where you might decide to bring these things in to help pin the AA at least, then bring in more of these, maybe some in A phase, or maybe these ones in A phase, maybe some of these in A to pin some of these in B, just because these have got a faster rate of fire. They're not that killy, got a fast enough rate of fire to be effective as a counter battery, which will then protect your A19 a bit better, because it's got a slow rate of fire. It's not ideal for counter battery, it's more for like killing things, I would say. Whereas these will like pin down, do a good counter battery job. And you've also got this option as well to help you out, so you can kind of bulk out on your artillery tab, but then you're going to be leaving yourself vulnerable on the ground. But you do have some cheap options to just sort of flesh out, hold the ground a bit better. Then you're going to be wanting to look at your support tab to help out, OB25s. You've got some Maxims here which do have the radar trait on, and this is good on machine guns, because it's less easy to spot them. They'll be hidden more readily. You get fantastic availability on these as well, 8 in A. Then I'd probably double that and put these in B as well, because you're going to need them to help support your infantry a lot. The obligatory flamers. Then you've got the OB25s. Other things, there's no support mortars in here, so I'm probably going to want support mortars in A to help myself out, and I might even go for these ones, because they're faster, they can fire and move, as long as I keep them alive a little bit, should be okay. And this is a case where I might even use the force slot and think, oh, I'm probably going to need some off-map in A as well, just to hold back any massive onslaught that comes in. So I could be just going full arty tab here, then fill out the air quite excessively. Then it's just fodder units in my infantry tab. Well, that's one way to approach the problem I have of pretty poor infantry tabs. You can also look in your recon tab and think, what have I got in here? Got what are these? Oh, these could come in and sneak and do a bit of business. Basically an AVTO squad with some raiders. But they don't have a radio, so why would I bother? These guys, some snipers. 4-man squad sniper. They've got a radio as well. That could be quite nice. Also not Superi. These are good for rushing in. They get off some TNT, so that would be nice as well in CQC to help me out, which is where I'm going to be needing to hold. Then it's like some support armor to help me out as well. Then maybe you want to bring these things in, because bring them up to the front line. Maybe you want dedicated recon in, but now I'm thinking about dedicated recon. Do I want to bring these in? But now I've run out of slots. So yeah, do I have radios in here? I do have. Yeah, unusually you do get radios in here, so I would want to take that. And then bulk out with what can I get in B? Get some of these in B, like so. You get plentiful supply of these, 8 in B. So we're going to want to be doubling down on upvetting things. Definitely going to need supply trucks. So I'll put these in C. And then I've got these in B, so these will bring supply trucks. But I might be running out of supplies elsewhere. And this is going to make me start thinking, oh, actually, maybe I should be going for balanced on this rather than for Maverick. So I would then lean into that with my infantry tab. So get these in A, they're just cheap. You get a lot of them. Anti-tank rifle, they do a bit of work. These guys as well, probably just help hold the forest a little bit with some flamers. I'd do that. Then I've got more of these again in B. Maybe yeah, 16 just to flesh out. Probably going to want to chuck some of these in somewhere. Maybe in A phase to help pick off some tanks. Now these are my good guys, so I want more of them, so I want to bring them in B really. And then in C phase I don't have many options here. Do I want to bring Superi in? I can just spam these in C, I guess. Yeah, then things start to get a bit problematic. So I've got good numbers anyway, so I'm looking good. But these units are very disposable and very weak, so you have to keep that in mind. These things, like I say, and I probably want double vet them. Bring them in early. They're cheap, so it's going to help with the balanced. Possibly bring these in as well. They're cheap. It's a leader. It's going to be good. Emchers, yes please. These guys, maybe to help out in B, a bit of a cheaper option. Double vet them though. So it's more about going for numbers. But yeah, as you can see, I'm going to have to rethink this because I've got 2 points left. This is why I'm saying usually you want to fill in the 1 and a 2 first, and then go back and look later. I've not even done my air tab, so yeah, you'd have to rethink how you're doing things as you're going along. So yeah, maybe I can't do this. Maybe I'm just going to rely on those and bring Emchers in B with 1 star. Maybe I don't actually need this actually and bring this instead, like so. Or maybe I want to have these, get rid of them completely and just go for Emchers because they're going to be good for supporting my infantry. Probably not going to need this many of these, am I? So yeah, get rid of them. Rely just on these guys in B phase with the help of machine guns. So then I've cleared up some spots to bring in go for my bombing runs. So get a lot of bombers going on. Gonna want some fighters to help myself out a bit as well. And 5 points left. Anti-air. These guys are amazing. I might even just do something like this. Bring these in A, no vet. Go for these in B to get more of them because they're pretty damn powerful. And I might just sort of leave it like that and rely on my fighters and bombers to help me out and do the work. I'll possibly bring these in early as well, but you don't want to be spending too much on planes in A, to be honest. So yeah, I might actually rethink this. I might be going for the cheaper planes in A, then go for these in B, possibly, something like that. Then anti-tank, I'm lacking, so I have to rethink that again. Then I go back here. Well, using this slot at the end of the artillery, maybe a bit over an overkill. Maybe I can do without the off-map. Maybe I can do without these things, because they will take up supply. So then I've freed up 4 points straight away. I can jump back into here. Start thinking about what I can use in AT. I'd like to have those in B. Can't quite afford it yet, so back up here again. So it's a case of just juggling around what I need to do. So Valentine's, as nice as they are, probably not. And then going for the AT gun, which I'm going to need for sure. Something like that. So 83 units in here. That should keep me going, but I don't have much. My infantry is pretty poor. Well, that's generally how I'd be thinking about it. This is going purely for an air play. If I was doing something else, I'd possibly drop this. Drop this. Then it frees up more points there. Then go more into maybe some more anti-air to help myself out a bit. Then go for some more tanks. These are more cheaper versions, maybe in B, like so, like I had before. And you just like mix and match, go around. Actually, maybe have some Sherman leaders, have those in A as well to help. And just mix and match, play about, try it out in a game or two, see what happens. Now, there's another division which is particularly unique, and that is MGB. All the infantry look different, but it's the same kind of principle here. You get the Strelki SVT, get some of these weird things with smoke. But these guys, it's a 12-man AVTO squad basically, 25 points, so a bit better. And you get the DP, but they've got an extra strength on them. So they've got an extra rifle, but it's still double DP. You got the double flamers going on as well, and you get 2 Strafniki cards, which is really nice. If you look at the infantry tab, amazing. But yeah, lack of tanks is an issue. So, and you only get these in B as well. So you've got to deal with the armor. Then you've got to look at your recon. These are in B as well. So I've got literally no armor going on. Got these in B as well. Got no armor going on in A phase. So then it's a case of anti-tank to deal with the armor in A phase, like so. These are a lot to see. These are a lot to see. So it's like, oh my god. So I probably want to bring some of these in C. And that is basically what you'd be looking at. Then you'd even go to the artillery tab. Have I got a... Can I use this? Yeah, I could use this as an AT gun if I'm really desperate. And I'll probably just opt for the radio. An extra 5 points. Do something like that. So just in case I've got extra AT capabilities if I need it. But you've got beautiful off maps in here. Filthy off maps going on. You just mix and match. The AA as well, not particularly significant, but it's got enough going on. These are locked to B, which is a pain. So you'd have to be careful with your air, but your air tab is fantastic here. You've got lots of options. The Spitfires, I like to take these in like so. Rather than dealing with this thing, I probably might even go for a card of MiG as well, because these do decent damage. Just bring them out, shoot things down, then recall them pretty quickly. Your AT capabilities as well are in the plane department, it's pretty good. Probably do something along these lines. These have got 4 rockets on them. These have got 8, so I would generally go for the 8 version. You get 3 of them in A as well, so you're looking pretty covered in the anti-tank department for your planes. So then it's a case of throwing some bombers as well. What have we got here? Boston's, fairly sturdy, reliable things. 4 of them in B, that would be nice. Then it's back to thinking about, well, I've got all this air, how am I going to deal with their anti-air? And you don't have a lot, so you're probably going to be relying mostly on these to get rid of the AA, and possibly a card of this, more for suppressing than killing. Then you would bring in your Bostons to actually bomb the AA once they're suppressed and do the job. The off maps can help out as well. And yeah, it's mixing and matching, always mixing and matching. Is there anything more I can offer? Let me think. Now let's have a look. Now there are some other unique units in here in the infantry tabs, but I'm not going to go into every little one. There's two more divisions that I do want to touch on, which are a bit different. There's VDV, where you got a smoke off map, which is the only smoke off map in the game at present, and that is very, very useful, and it's lots of CQC infantry, lots of cheap things going on. So let's take a quick look at what's going on here. So you got these things, the Desanika, 15 points, strength 8, they've got submachine guns, and the availability is pretty good on them. Yeah, 8 at one vet, then 16, then 24. So you can spam these things out, and if you lay down lots of smoke, then obviously they can get into CQC range, like 100 meters, and dish out some damage. They've also got this in here, which is quite unique, the Desanika DT. 3 light machine guns, but only 3 semi-automatic rifles. But these light machine guns are move and shoot, so they can fire under 100 meters. So these are good all-round unit, really. But it's got low hit points, 7 strength. But again, you get pretty decent availability on these, and they do come in at 1 vet as well. And you get 2 cards of double flamers in here, Timecodes as well to help out. Just when it comes to double machine guns, you've only got the trip machine gun on this thing here, then you got the Gavardia. That's it, really. Nothing else very ranged. You got this thing, but it's just got like 1 light machine gun. Better than nothing. So you'd have to think about bulking out with your Maxims, maybe even your Dushka, your OB-25s to help out and support your infantry. And also, this would probably be a nice option, the 50mm support mortar with its really fast rate of fire and 800 meter range would be good. But you've got other options to help out. Your air support can come in and play. Recon, not got a lot to help you out here, some snipers. And the other more unique division here is Gornostrelki. Again, an issue, the armor, BT7s, really fast, really fast. Look at 86 kilometers an hour and 65 off-road as well. So these can be sneaky, can be annoying. Not got the best gun on them, but super fast and nippy. If you're into your tank micro, you'll love these things. They can be really annoying. Get high availability too. I tend to double vet them just to make sure when they are firing, they can hit things, and I usually keep them moving as well when they're firing. The M3S, it does some work. It's all right. It's got double tank guns on it, so yeah, it can lay down a bit of fire. Can be quite nice. And the KV-85, but this is phase locked to C, which is an annoyance because it is otherwise it's a pretty good tank. But when you bring them in, they're going to take a while to arrive. They are slow at 35 kilometers an hour. So yeah, again, you need to think about what you're going to do to deal with heavier tanks. So you'd have to go to your AT tab, and it's like, oh, I've got a couple of cards of these. I'm definitely have to bring one in A and then one in B. Got these in A, so I have to bring them in, but you're really short there. Then if you look at your infantry, have we got any AT capabilities in here? Not a lot, just anti-tank grenades. Not a lot going on. But you've got these unique units, the Gornostrelki, which are alright in CQC, but at range fighting not so good. You've got a DP here with trip machine guns, again similar to what you get in the DVD. It's fairly similar things going on. These things are superior, but they've got no light machine gun, so it's a bit of a weird division again for the same region. Again, you got the smoke, you got infantry with smoke on here, so you might want to make use of those because you're gonna have to get up close and dirty. You got some nice TNT units in here. You got this squad, which is 4-man squad with 2 light machine guns and 2 rifles. Very unusual, but you get decent availability on them. You can get them in there fast, but they're going to die very quick. In your Recon tab, then you got some slightly better units going on here. These are basically Tankos, but they're Recon Tankos, but you don't get very good availability. They do have a radio on, which is a significant thing for this division, because look at the artillery tab here. We have these, so where your infantry are going to fail, you're going to have like bang bang Bang. 6 of these in A, 6 of them in B. They're 60 points each. They've got radios on, high rate of fire. The damage on them 3.8, but if you've got like, if you manage to get 12 of them out onto the field, you can blow things up pretty effectively. You can also back up the blowing things up with some of these. Probably might not go for the off map. You might want to bring this in as well to make sure you've got enough radio on the field. And you can like decimate. Probably not going to need. What's the range on this thing? That's pretty good. So yeah, you're probably not going to. Oh, you only get 2 and 4 on this, don't you? All right, so you probably go for this in B. That's unusual for the Soviets. But yeah. So that's kind of what you would think about doing with this division, I would say. This will help pin down infantry, help destroy AA pieces. You just make sure you don't clump them up together, and then you can be going in doing some runs. You got some anti-tank planes, the Hurricanes. Maybe bring a couple of those in. You got P-40s, some light bombing runs going in there. Then you got your Bostons for some more heavier bombing runs. Maybe go for the C phase, B phase, like so. Get some work done. Get some recon planes out too. The Bostons. Kind of fighters in there. Why not? Throw them in. Or maybe you want to go for the Yak 3. It's going to be. What's it? The P-40. Oh, it's both bad resilience. The Yak's going to be faster. Do some work. So yeah, you're relying on your air tab, your RT tab to take out their air play as well. You want to dominate the air because you've got this amazing gun here. You're probably going to want to bring that in A and keep it very safe. A lot of micro going on, then these in B, and then that's your air. That's your anti-air tab. So it's very tricky to build these. Again, you might not do this. You might just think, actually, I'm not going to go for planes. I just go for full-on artillery, and then just spam out loads of infantry, rush in there, go crazy. Maybe throw in an off-map in B phase as well. Use these instead of the planes to do the business. But you're going to have to deal with the planes somehow. So if you're not going for the bombing runs, you probably want to get rid of a few of these. Maybe keep some fighter bombers in there because they're quite nice. And then maybe you want to bulk out with some cheap Hurricanes in B to help protect the air. Just keep them there in the back line because they've got medium resilience, so they can be a bit sturdy at the start. Maybe put some of these into B phase to help shoot things in the air if you need it. Maybe even upvet them instead. Or do something like that. And then free up a few more points to help with your support tab with more machine guns. The ISUs. You would bring these because they're just fantastic. And yeah, I would definitely double vet them. Again, you're going to want supplies for your artillery like so. Then you want to look at other things like, can I bring supplies in with this? No, I can't, but I'm going to want them. And just mix and match according to the plan that you want. But this is a tricky division to build for sure. Not recommended for everyone. Okay, I think that is about as much waffle as I can do. And it's going to be a little bit easier to go over some of the other factions. Next I will do the Axis faction, which is going to be just as much full-on waffle, but once we're past that, then things get a bit easier. I'll be able to look at more specific divisions. And I might I might rehash this thing again or split it up, but let's see how this goes. Again, feedback on this and how helpful and useful it is for new players would be much appreciated, so please give that either in the comments, or if you're on Discord, then yeah, send me a DM or whatever, can discuss it. Because my aim is with these things to give people a quick brief overview, how to build your divisions, what's on offer, and get people up and running really quickly. Again, even myself, I've played this game for years. I don't know every little detail. There's so much in the game, and you have to sort of play. Like, I can talk more specifically about certain divisions. I think I will actually do that now. This will make sense. So let's go to battle groups. I will ramble on a little bit longer here. So let's look at my Soviet divisions. So these are my Soviet divisions that I have. Yeah, 43rd, I've done some nonsense there. Viborg, I was having a mess about with these. So here's a good example of what you can do. So Maverick, Overwhelm. So this is a very unique division. Your infantry is pretty poor because you get a card of Strelky DP. So oh yeah, cool. So I'll put them in B, but you can. They're locked to A phase. So I thought I'll put them in A, upvet them, and then put them with Chernos because you look at your availability. You've got 6 slots only, so I can't afford to put leaders in here. I need numbers. They've got Strelky. These are locked to A or B. So it's like Jesus. And I've got a Sturmoviki. I wouldn't usually take these, but yeah, I'd get them in there for a TNT. Help out with the Sturmoviki rocks. These are solid. And I've put some of these in B as well to try and hold some forests later on and help myself out. Then I've got double flamers in A as well. Just to run in there, help out with my Chernos, help out with Sturmoviki here. These I believe that they're not locked to A phase, but I'd rather just use them in there for the punching power they give. And then it's all about the tanks. Churchills, like I've mentioned before, they have the HE shells in there, so I want to bring them. They're slow, but I want them in A phase, not in B because they take forever to arrive. March them out. They'll be cheap and cheerful for my A phase, along with the T26s, which are really good. T26 leaders, KV leader as well, which can take some fire with decent frontal armor, as well as a Churchill. IS-2 as well, an early one. And then IS-2 Comrot is in B to help out with some more sort of fodder tanks in B. And I've not opted for the M42 here because my tanks are fairly sort of lightish, and my thinking here is I don't have very good infantry, and I've got limited infantry. So what I've done is I've opted for 2 cards of Zis 3 so they can use their HE and help support my infantry as well. That was my thinking there. Because I've only got the Maxims to help out. These things are just not particularly good, so I don't want them. So that is why I've gone for the Zis 2. They're more their support guns to help out my infantry rather than being just purely for anti-tank. Then in the AA, I've opted for this just purely to suppress so that my IS-2s can do some business. And then I've gone in for some fighters to help out as well, help guard the skies a little bit, and PE2 spam. So like you can get 4 on a card in B, but I just want 2 of these in A to get the bombing runs going out. Again, for deleting infantry where and when I can. Then I've got the bigger boom PE2 in B phase. So that is my thinking there. And off map in B as well because I feel like I need it again. lack of infantry. I've got some of these in A phase, and these are for picking off the AA. So I would get 2 of these out, pepper some AA, then bring in a bomber to try and completely delete the AA, and have a fighter hanging around to defend my bombers if I can. So that is how it's going with this division. And I have still got the combat. The reason I brought this in here is because I want it to boost up the AA. And it will still, my lighter tanks here will still be, I was going to pop these sort of near forests where I've got my infantry in there to help boost them up, and then nip them out here and there to get some side shots in on some other tanks and doing some business. We've got the BA-10 as well and the T-34 to help out. This is going to be for spotting, to help out my IS-2s that be alongside them. There's a BA-10. Again, I've opted for 4 here instead of 3, just because I want a bit more support for my infantry, and it will help spot out as well. So that is how I've decided to build this. And again, this is obviously quite a rush. I'm saying overwhelm. I just want to throw in loads of Chernos, throw out the light tanks, just overwhelm in A, keep them on the back foot, throw in the early bombers so they invest in AA, then bomb their AA, and keep the bombing runs going, bring in the IS-2s, etc, etc. Now, so let's look at the other options for doing the Viborg. Alright, so this is a recent one. This is a more sort of generalized one. So this is, I'm more looking at thinking a more looking at fighting a more regular battle here. So I've got some leaders in to help bulk out. I've put my Strelki at no veterancy, so the leader's going to boost them up there. And with Chernos, so it's going to be reasonable front line, but I can't get into the forest too much. Then I've got my Strelki in B, Avtos in B, which I'm going to combine with my Sturmoviki rocks so they can mop up in the forests in the close quarter combat fights. So that's what I'm thinking there. Only got 64 units in here though. I've gone for heavier, the heavier support tank here, sorry, a heavier leader tank here to do some business. It's going to be a bit more durable. Use it to boost up my Churchill 4s for laying down some fire. These are good at killing tanks. And T26s to scatter them around to help out my infantry again. And the same kind of thing with the IS-2 leader in A, and use that to boost up some of my anti-air. And I've got the IS-2 Novet in B, so hoping to get the KV, keep a KV alive long enough to boost up this in the late game, or even to bring out a leader to boost it up, because I've got those in the artillery tab. And here you can see the air, completely different build. So going for some light bombs in A just to pick off AT guns and such where I can. Fighters to support them, keep them safe. And then the bigger boom P2s coming in later on as and when I need them. Here I've gone for, I'm not too concerned about taking out the enemy AA in particular with this build. Just some lighter mortars in A to help support infantry, lay down smoke, etc. Early off map if I need it. And then a renewable off map, so to speak, with this, which can delete many things with its extremely large rockets. And in support tab, again, taking advantage of the fact that I've got lots of flamers in here, so I can rush them in all kinds of places. They can be pesky and annoying. The card of Maxims, the card of supplies, which is basically maybe use one of these to supply some AA as and when I need them, if they're needed. But it's mostly to supply this thing and keep this firing as much as I can. And obviously I can resupply some of my mortars if they stay alive long enough. And in the AA tab, I've gone for 2 37mm in A at 1 star, alongside the 4 25mm at 1 star, then back up with these later on as and when I need them. And yeah, fairly solid. And the only other things to mention, the Recon tab, I've gone for the dozer option, and as I've mentioned before, well, the BA-10, again, I've gone for 4 rather than 3, because I'm going to want to use these to spot and support my infantry and spot for my IS-2s and such. I've got dozer to also help spot, and I brought them in an armoured vehicle, which is an extra 10 points. Just gives me a little bit of extra recon out there as and when I need it. So I've got 6 recon units for the price, well, right, 3 cards, but I get 6 recon units out of it. And then I've got some Razvedka, just to help be a bit more protective if there's any early rushes, pick off transports or tanks that might rush in. Because one of the issues I do have, I've only got the BA-10s as fast light armour, whereas lots of the Axis divisions have lots of, you know, the SPWs rushing in everywhere, which could be a bit of annoyance for the T26s, the Churchill 4s. They're not going to get there in time. Same with the KV-1S and the IS-2. They're all very slow tanks to the front line. So that is how I'd think about building that. So let's look at another Soviet division and the difference. I guess we'll look at these. So we've got a balanced. Actually, those are fairly similar. Maybe not look at that. What's one that I play fairly often? 184th. I do like to play these often. Now let's take a look at this. This is a team or a grindy deck, and this is a particularly good deck for doing that, because you can buy everything. Anything you want in this tab, you can afford to buy it. The activation points you have, you seems like you got more than you need all the time. So you can bring in lots of extra things. That's why you can see here I've got 12 Maxims in A, and I got 12 of these in B. The reason I'm using these, I might have mentioned this before as well, my thinking for this is it's for picking off AT guns. So when I bring out my big AT weaponry like this in B and in C, there's going to be some anti-tank in the area trying to pick these things off, and they have decent frontal armor, but they're still vulnerable. And so I'm going to scatter these round and about where my ISU 122s are, or where they're going to go, so they can pick off AT weaponry much more quickly and help keep them protected. Also the IL-4s I mentioned before, really nice bombers. Again, if you're bringing out this many right into the late game, a big train of these, they're not going to be able to suppress every single one. They are particularly slow though, so do be careful of that. And you can obliterate so much with these things. They're really nice. And you see that the M24s as well. I've got a card in B as well, because I want to, in a later game, can rush these out to the front line, surprise my opponent, get them into nice positions. AA 25mm, not up-vetted them because I'd rather just have more of them, to be honest. Up-vetted 37mm in B, and I've got these in B as well, so I feel that's enough. Because I've got these fighters in B as well. I've got no air whatsoever in A. I'm just relying purely on 25mm to do their job, and got my artillery to do some work as well, help support my infantry. Now in this division you do get Strelky DP 3 cards, but I've opted not to go for them purely because they cost more, and so I've opted more for just, I want Strelky in C. But in team games, using these and getting the anti-tank grenades in can be quite clutch, I find, and I'd rather have just some more Strelky as well, just to get the anti-tank off, and I want Superi in there to do some work as well. Again, in all honesty, it is probably better to switch these out for the Strelky DP, but this is a more team orientated build, so I've just got these here because they're cheaper. I've already spending 25 points on these. That is my thinking. For supporting the infantry, I feel like I've got enough Maxims, I've got enough of these to help out, because it's generally more open play. I've got snipers around too, so that is why I don't have as many Strelky DP. I'd be relying on those in C phase. If I was to change anything, it'd probably be, I should probably do that now, I'd probably just bring these in C instead. Like so. And possibly have one up-vetted. That would make more sense, to be completely honest. Alright, that's about it for now. That's one hell of a long video, an hour and a half. So probably going to cut this in half, I think. But we will see, we will see. Next up, I will be going over Axis and the Germans in particular. Fun things to come in the future, if you class this as fun or not, I'm not sure, is going to be the different countries we have. So back, let's have a look here. So going to be trying to give a brief overview of all of these next, but then the French are going to be fairly easy to deal with, the Polish will be fairly easy to deal with, as will the Brits, the US, Canadians has only got one there, the Hungarians, the Finnish, the Romanians, Estonians, I kind of class them as being in with the Soviets, but it's a particularly different division here, so might give it its own little look. But I'll split these up into little sections like Commonwealth divisions and such, and give a brief overview of what they've got to offer. And that is about that. So bye bye. He says not going yet. Bye bye again. I'm going now.